History is not just written by kings and generals. It is shaped in the shadows by those who wear masks. From T.E. Lawrence, the mysterious Lawrence of Arabia, who walked into the deserts as an archaeologist, but emerged as a key architect of rebellion against the Ottoman Empire, to Queen Esther, a Jewish woman in exile, who rose within a foreign court, quietly influencing Xerxes I himself and outmaneuvering Haman to stop a genocide of Jews before it could begin. Time and again, history reveals a chilling truth. The most powerful players are often the least visible. And then we arrive in the modern era, an age of revolutions, an age of chaos, an age the world calls the Arab Spring. Governments collapsed, civil wars ignited, entire nations were reshaped. But behind the headlines, behind the protests, behind the wars, there was a man who appeared to be a journalist, an adventurer, a humanitarian. But was he really? Or was he something far more dangerous? Today, we uncover the story of a shadowy figure, a man accused of funding rebels, influencing uprisings, and playing a hidden role in the fall of governments. This is a story of disguise, deception, and power. Let's begin. On March 13th, 2026, a shocking incident unfolded. India's National Investigation Agency arrested 7 foreign nationals, 6 Ukrainians, and 1 American. They were accused of secretly entering India's northeast, crossing into Myanmar, and allegedly training armed groups in drone warfare. And among them, there was one name, a name tied to war, revolution, and controversy: Matthew Van Dyke. So, who actually is Van Dyke? Born on June 11, 1979, he is not just a traveler, not just a journalist, not just a filmmaker. He is an international security analyst, a media personality, a foreign fighter, and the founder of the controversial organization Sons of Liberty International. But his story doesn't begin here. Between 2007 and 2011, Van Dyke traveled across North Africa and the Middle East, not in armored convoys, but on a motorcycle, a lone journey, a dangerous journey, a journey that would change everything. Because those travels didn't just give him stories, they gave him a cause. Beyond his work on the ground, Van Dyke has also become a recognizable media personality. He frequently appears on television, radio, and podcasts, sharing his experiences and insights. He's especially known for his powerful documentaries like Point and Shoot, Not Anymore, A Story of Revolution, and 7 Days in Syria, films that bring real stories from conflict zones to audiences around the world. But here's the real question. Is this all there is to him? A war journalist, a media personality, a documentary, filmmaker, bringing stories from conflict zones to the world? Or is there something more? Something hidden behind the camera, something more covert, and perhaps even more sinister than what we see on the surface? Because when you look closer, the lines between journalism, storytelling, and involvement in the very conflicts being documented can start to blur. So what's the truth? Is he simply documenting history? Or is he, in some way, becoming a part of it? Let's discuss. After everything we've covered, Matthew's story only gets more intense. It all started with a journey, a solo bike ride across the Middle East, something that sounds adventurous on the surface, but quickly turned dangerous. Between 2008 and 2010, Matthew was arrested multiple times by Iraqi forces. On one occasion, he says he and a companion were accused of being al-Qaeda terrorists. They were taken to Baghdad, hooded, handcuffed, and forced to stand facing a wall. Iran's Fars news agency even reported that his arrest was part of a campaign targeting alleged Jewish American spies, even though Matthew himself is not Jewish. And that was just the beginning. He later made his way illegally into Libya. By 2011, the country was in chaos. A full-scale civil war had erupted against Libyan ruler Muammar Gaddafi, led by the National Transitional Council. But Matthew didn't just document the conflict. He joined it. He embedded himself with rebel fighters. And during one mission, everything went wrong. He was ambushed, shot, and captured by Gaddafi's forces. For 6 months, he was held in one of Libya's most notorious prisons. Until one night, August 24, 2011, everything changed. Other prisoners broke the lock of his cell, and Matthew escaped. He hid for days with a fellow inmate, before eventually being taken in by the rebels he once fought alongside. This time, not as a prisoner, but as a guest. He was moved to a luxury hotel in Tripoli, under the protection of the same forces fighting the regime. Just weeks later, on October 20th, 2011, Gaddafi was brutally killed, and Libya was never the same again. But Matthew wasn't done. Next stop, Syria. Amid another brutal conflict, he created a documentary supporting rebel groups fighting the government of Bashar al-Assad. The film reportedly included details about weapons use, and that crossed a line. The Assad government labeled him a terrorist. Then in 2014, tragedy struck. ISIS militants killed 2 of his journalist friends, James Foley and Stephen Sotloff. After that, Matthew made a bold move. He founded Sons of Liberty International, a US-based organization. Officially, it claims to be a non-profit, offering free security training to those fighting authoritarian regimes or terrorist groups. But not everyone is convinced. Some experts believe organizations like this operate in a gray zone, training mercenaries and deploying them wherever needed. And then there's the biggest question of all. Is Matthew connected to intelligence agencies? Officially, there's no confirmation of any ties to the CIA, but the details raise eyebrows. He studied security studies at Georgetown University. His own website mentions close connections with individuals in the CIA, FBI, the Department of Defense, and the State Department. He even tried to join the CIA himself. He went through the process: analytical tests, psychological exams, interviews, and finally, the polygraph test, a lie detector. He failed, not because he was caught lying, but because of nervousness. The CIA reportedly told him, "We'll call you again." And after that, silence. No official record of what happened next. But some believe that once agencies like the CIA take interest in someone, they don't just let them go. So what does that make Matthew? A journalist? A filmmaker? A fighter? Or something far more complex? Let me know what you think and subscribe to my channel for more upcoming geopolitical updates.